If you feel like you struggle with controlling things in life, if you feel like you're controlling people, places, jobs, or you're just a control freak, then in this video, I want to share with you how you can learn to let go, have less control in life by redefining what it means. And I want to share with you some things that I have done personally that are very helpful for this, because I used to be a major control freak, and once in a while that part of me creeps in, but I have learned how to deal with it instead of trying to shove it away. So if you're new here, this is just the type of content that I make. I paint as I talk because it helps me to get into a flow state and gives you guys better content. So today I'm sharing with you how you can learn to be less controlling. And the first thing is, if you're judging yourself for it, just please understand, wanting to have control is healthy. It's healthy to want to control things. Now, before you click away from this video, okay, I'm still going to tell you how not to do it. But first, before you can stop doing it, you have to learn to understand that the reason you're controlling things in an unhealthy and quote unquote kind of rather obsessive way, it's because you don't feel like you have healthy control. If you don't feel like you have control in life, that's when all these compulsions and tendencies creep in. Because you don't feel like you can trust yourself, you don't feel like you can trust life, and you don't feel like you're in charge. And because you don't feel like you are in charge, you try to be in charge of things that are actually none of your business to control. And again, I used to have this issue big time with everything, with trying to control my body, trying to control the outcome of my work, trying to control the outcome even of paintings, which, you know, I like to use this analogy that life is literally like art. And you cannot control the end result to the degree that you wish you had. But one thing that you can do that will help you the most is understand that you can only control yourself. And once you can learn to control yourself, you will no longer care what happens. You can learn to let go of outcome once you learn to control yourself. So let me explain this to you more, what that means. What that means is, if you think about it realistically, right, you can be living in the state of frenzy, in a state of anxiety, because you're trying to control things in life that are, quite frankly, none of your job. And you can't control it. And because of it, you're living in this anxiety, and they call it a control freak, because you're literally trying to control the weather, right? The weather can be analogous for people, for events, for situations in life. And it's really none of your business to control that. You quite literally cannot. And because you cannot, you can have this anxiety of, oh my God, what if this, what if that? But if you can learn to control yourself, if you can learn to understand that the only true control you have in this life is over your emotions, your feelings, your actions, for the most part, your actions. Sometimes we don't even control those. You know, we all, we're human, okay? But if you can learn to control yourself and take responsibility for your decisions, you won't really care what happens as much. Because if you watch my previous video, it's all about knowing that if you can learn to trust yourself, which means that you trust your own gut, you trust your intuition, you trust yourself to do what's in your best interest, you don't really care what happens. You don't really care about controlling the external, because you have claimed control over the internal, which is the only realistic locus of control that you have. It's the only focal point that you can realistically do something about. You cannot do anything about the externals as much as you would like to. But what you can do is control your internal. Once you can learn to control your internal, you can also find ways in which you can control the external in a healthy way. And I'm saying this because recently I realized also that wanting control is healthy. There's no reason to shame yourself for being someone who is controlling. It's actually a very good quality, but you just want to transmute it and apply it in a correct way. So for example, for me recently, I wanted to control certain outcomes in my life, and I was doing it from a place of scarcity and survival and anxiety, because I was like, if I do not control this, then I won't survive. And most of us have this subconscious thing. Either we feel like we won't survive, we will be abandoned. So a good question to ask yourself is, what are you so afraid of? If you let go of control, what are you so afraid will happen? Get in touch with that part of you. For me, it was that I won't survive. And so I went around trying to control my outcome by shifting myself, by shifting my energy, by doing so many things. And I got into this obsessive controlling state. And the way I got out of that, well, personally, life broke me to where I had to internally scream and say, okay, God, I trust you. But what I learned from that is that you can choose to let it go. You can choose to just say, you know what? I may not control everything. The only control I can have is doing my best giving it my all. And if something doesn't work, it just was not meant to. Because what is meant to happen will happen. And quite frankly, here's the funny part. When I was trying to control things that I thought I quote unquote wanted to happen, not only did I succeed in manifesting it, but I also was not happy with it. Because I realized what I thought I wanted, what I was trying to control, it just perpetuated this control cycle to where I realized that, you know what, actually, I think there is a better way to do it. The better way to do it is just surrender and trust that you will do your best, you will live in alignment, and what's meant to happen will happen. You will not miss what's meant for you. And sometimes we don't know what that is. We have these definitions, which, by the way, I also had these definitions and judgments of the things that I should and should not be doing, the things I should and should not be partaking in or experiencing or doing or becoming or whatever that is, right? Because of what you're not okay in here. You're not okay with certain things happening, people leaving, people coming, you going or doing certain things. You may not be okay with it because you have certain definitions in your brain. And those definitions in your brain lead you to try to control the outcomes. But if you step back from that, if you step back from those definitions and understand that the reason you're trying to control that is because you picked up some kind of definitions and you're imposing a structure onto how life should be. But there's no such thing. There's only an experience that you are meant to have, the experience that is correct for you, and no one else can be the judge of that. So if we can also learn to validate our own experiences, to validate our own feelings, and to understand that it's okay to want control. It's okay to want certain outcomes, right? But if you can trust yourself enough to know that no matter what outcome happens, you will make it, you will be fine, something better will come. Not even trust yourself, but just like trust life, to know that universe does not leave empty space. If you lose something, it means it was not meant for you. It means something else that is better wants to come into your experience, whether it's people, places, jobs, whatever that is. And it's not always up to your brain to control what that looks like, because sometimes we cling and we want to control people or jobs or places because we think nothing better will ever happen. We think this is the best, this is what I want, this is what I should have. Entitlement energy, right? But is this really what you need? That's the question. The question is not always what do you want, the question is what you need, and life will always give you that. So again, if you're still here and you're still watching this, right, I want you to ask yourself, what are you so afraid of if you let go? What is the fear that you have? And I want you to also know that whatever that fear is, whether it's survival, whether it's abandonment, even if that fear came true, the worst case scenario, can you still see that you will be okay? And sometimes, you know, when you ask yourself this question, and I'm speaking largely based on the experiences that I had, that I'm just converting into something that can be helpful for you. Because when you ask yourself this question and you come to the worst case scenario, and sometimes when, you know, you do control things, but you realize you cannot, you can really go through pretty dark emotions. But the way out of those emotions literally is surrendering. It's surrendering to yourself even. Because sometimes we want to control things out of the ego because we have certain ideas of what we think we need to be, what you think you need to do, what you think needs to happen, who you think needs to be in your life, who you think needs to do what. Again, which, by the way, we have no business controlling other people. No business controlling other people. Can't do it. This doesn't make sense. You know, other people are free individual creatures that have a life of their own, and we kind of just need to honor that. So anyways, I lost my train of thought. What I'm saying is, like, you gotta just ask yourself, like, am I doing this thing? Am I trying to control this thing because I genuinely enjoy the process of doing this? Or am I trying to get to some kind of end result? Because sometimes we do things out of anxiety and wanting the end result, not enjoying the process itself. But what I realized is that the process is the end. The journey is the destination. And I know this is like a popular quote that I actually had on a card for a while at some point long time ago, that the journey is the destination. But I never quite understood it. Because the reason that this is the case, and the reason this will help you to stop controlling, is because if you can learn to stop being outcome focused and get yourself back to present moment. And get yourself back to being focused in yourself to the point where you say, I only will control my next step, my next choice, my next decision based on my energy, not based on what I think needs to happen. Because again, sometimes we don't know. And sometimes we this apparatus right here, the brain, is not equipped with the answer that we think it is equipped. So just tell yourself, I will control me. I will control my next actions. I will control my next decisions. And taking those decisions and actions out of what feels aligned, and I will trust. And the number of times I have done this, where I do something where my brain is like, what are you doing? Like, what is wrong with you? You should not be doing this. This is like, what's wrong with you? Like, I've literally had this talk with myself a number of times. But each time I do that, it always works out for the best. And so trying to stop controlling things is also literally a choice, and it's a muscle. The more you do it, the more you will learn that you don't have to control the big things in life, and the more you can transmute it to controlling yourself. And if you really struggle with this, try controlling little things in life. Like, what can you realistically do? Because I realized also, like, you need control, some sense of structure of something, because otherwise you cannot be mentally stable and happy. Because when you feel out of control with everything, that is a very unpreferable place to be. That you realize that nothing is wrong with wanting to control things. It's just about how you do it and what kind of state you bring into, what kind of intention do you approach it with, and how heavy are you based on the end result with each individual step, versus just being in the present moment and knowing that no matter what each individual step looks like, the end result is not necessarily determined by each of those steps. What that means is, like, even I like to use this analogy that life is like painting, and I like to incorporate the way that I paint because I think it's a very heavily relative and relatable metaphor. Because if you ever watch the way I paint, right, like, the stuff that I start with is not the stuff that I end with, because, you know, you're not going to start with the same stuff you end with. Every single thing in life is like a stepping stone to the next thing. And so if you can learn to trust that too, and if you can literally just go with your energy and take the next step and feel and be conscious of that you are in control of this decision, that's all you need to be in control of, is the decision to be here for yourself, and knowing that that decision will then bring you what is necessary for you. And yes, sometimes that will look like taking massive action. Sometimes that will look like going after something with all of yourself, but you're doing it because you're consciously choosing that, you know what, I will choose to control this action that I'm doing. And if it's meant for me, it will happen. And if it's not meant for me, I don't want it. I don't want nothing that's not meant for me. Because if something doesn't want to be with me, I don't want it. It does not make sense to want something that's not meant for you. Now again, this does not mean chill on the couch and do nothing. Because there is this book called How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. I love that audiobook so much. Highly, highly recommend it. And basically what it talks about is that, you know, when you're super busy with something, you kind of don't have the time to worry about meaningless things. You don't have the time for it. They don't matter. So if you're sometimes obsessing over the little things, it's maybe because you have too much time to spare and you're not doing enough. Or maybe if you are worried and you're doing too much, maybe you're doing too much and you need to chill. So which end of out of balance are you? Because we need each of those stages in life. We need every stage. We need a stage of doing a lot. We need a stage of rest. We need to be in balance. And so ask yourself, which end of the spectrum are you out of balance? Are you overdoing because you're trying to control? Or are you trying to control things because you're stuck in your head, but you're not realistically doing anything about it? Which I feel like if you're watching this, the more appropriate one for you is that you are doing a lot. In which case, again, you can control your energy, you can control your actions. Leave the rest up to the universe. Because even if you get what you think you want, sometimes that's not what you actually want, because it may not give you the feeling that you think it's going to give you. literally had this happen multiple times. Won't go into the detail because what I realized is it's not an alignment for me to talk about myself and so much the stuff that I do and has happened for me, because it's not about me. I don't want this channel to be so much focused on what I'm doing. I want it to be focused on how this can help you. So what I will say is that I've just been on that spectrum where you quote unquote manifest what you want and you realize that's not it. So it doesn't make sense to try to get what you want to get, because that might not actually be what you want. You just want the idea that you have of that thing, the idea that your brain has concocted of a perceived feeling and emotional state you will attain once you have acquired that desire or that material possession or that person or whatever, which again, it's an idea. Please integrate this, please sit with this, okay? What you want is just an idea. It's a feeling that you believe that thing you're trying to control will get you. But you don't know that it actually will. It may not. And this is a very hard pill to swallow, but it's true. So do what you can, what you feel called to do in your heart. You have to learn also to listen to your intuition and your own inner compass, which is a whole other topic. But just control your energy. Just know that what's meant for you will find you. It will come to you. Do to the best of your ability what you feel called to do, okay? Don't sit on the couch, of course. I'm not saying like don't do anything because you're letting go of control, so that means you just relax and you do nothing. No, because that's actually not surrendering control. That's like, I don't even know what to call that. But when you truly surrender control, it's not that you stop taking action. You still take plenty of action, but you take it from a different place. It comes from a place of doing it because it comes naturally from within you as the next step you want, because of course you want to go for what you want, right? But you trust that what's meant to happen will happen. And I'm sorry if I've repeated this thing multiple times. Sometimes I really don't have a clue what I'm going to say until I say it. Oh, and one of you asked me for a close-up of my painting, which again, if you even watch, like, all this stuff here was all these vague colors, and you never know what the end result is going to look like. I don't know what the end result is going to look like, but one of you asked for a close-up of my paintings. Again, guys, no intention of selling anything. I'm just painting because it helps me to get into a flow state, and I don't know how much of this detail can you actually see, but the point is that, you know, sometimes we want things to look good. We want things to be fluffy and sparkly and flowy, and what I realize is, like, that's not always the best thing to do. It's like this morning I went for a walk and it was cloudy and it was humid, and I was like, I love it. I love it so much. It's so beautiful, okay? Because this has been too sunny and too fucking dry, and I'm like, it's dry and it's sunny. I need some moisture. And so when it was like foggy and clouded, I was like, this is perfect, perfect weather, right? And it's not because it's sunny. It's not because it's beautiful. And this applies to analogy in life too. It's just because it is what it needs to be for you, for your next experience, for your next level of growth. And just please know that, you know, something above you knows higher. And I think trying to control things is very largely an ego thing, because we in our ego selves, which by the way, we all have an ego, we all try to control it. It's okay. Don't be hard on yourself. Like, if you're still here in this video, don't be hard on yourself for trying to control things. Don't be hard on yourself for wanting what you want. It's okay to want that. It's okay to think that it will give you what you want. It's okay to go after it. Please do go after it with all of you. But just know that if it doesn't work out, it's because it was not meant to. And if it does work out and it doesn't give you what you want, you'll just probably please come back to this video and comment, be like, you were right. But please go after everything that you want. Put all of yourself in, but leave the final result to the universe, because it's something that Bashar says. He says that, like, the formula to living your dream life, to reaching your highest potential, your highest self, basically is you want to follow your highest passion, curiosity, excitement, where basically your gut is pulling you to the best of your ability, taking it as far as you can until you can take it no further, and maintaining a positive state because each of those excitements shift. And sometimes you might be excited to start something or to go in a certain direction or to chase a dream or to chase something or even to chase a person. Like that might be exciting for you for a while because it's meant to take you somewhere. It's meant to maybe get you off your butt, to take you to the next step. And if that ever shifts, it's also okay. You know, and if you feel frustrated sometimes with trying to control, we feel frustrated because we think, oh my God, I'm trying to control this thing, but it's not working. And we feel this frustration. Maybe you feel frustration because it's not authentic to you to be this way. Have you thought about that? Because I don't think we're meant to be frustrated. We're not meant to suffer, okay? Because whoever made humans, I say this, I love this saying, whoever created a human, let's just pretend someone up there made humans. How they would get you to do what you're meant to do, whether you want to call it God, universe, creator, how would they make you do it? They would make it feel good when you do that thing. So we're here to feel good. That does not mean comfortable, okay? Discomfort, anxiety, stress, panic, worry, nerves, all part of the process. But it's meant to feel good still. So if you feel frustrated with something, maybe it's a sign that it's not for you, or you need to take a break, or you need to look in another direction, maybe adjust course, maybe take a break, you know, because frustration sometimes is just a sign that you're not being authentic to you. Maybe that thing is not meant to work. Maybe you have to take a break or reconsider, reevaluate, okay? And again, for me personally, how I came to this and how I was made to surrender is I was simply pushed with a level of frustration that I said, I can't try to control things anymore. I said, if it's not working, it's not meant to work, and I will not try to force it to work. You know what happened? I am so much happier as a result. Let me just tell you that, okay? So much happier as a result. Things are so much better as a result. Okay? Won't go into the detail because it doesn't matter. What does matter is that once you let go, once you surrender, once you let universe guide you, it will guide you. You best be sure it will take you to your highest joy, to your highest excitement, which sometimes you don't even know what that is because you have definitions in your brain that are not in alignment, that are not serving you because they're not the reflection of the actual truth of life. Certain definitions of the way things need to look stop you and inhibit you from living your best life. And you're not in control of those. You're not even aware of those up until the point sometimes life forces you to look at it. Life takes you by the head, by the horns, sits you down and says, listen, human, you are being judgmental. You are being controlling right now. This is not what we have planned for you, okay? You don't even admit to yourself the stuff that will actually make you happy. You don't even let yourself be happy because you have certain definitions ingrained to you by society. So, are you gonna let yourself be happy and trust life? Or will you continue to force the things that are not meant for you? Because when you force things, like, that's the funny thing, you really can't force anything. At least for me, like, I can't force the stuff that's not meant to happen. And that's, I don't know if that's good or bad, but if I don't want to do something, my subconscious arranges in a way to where it just doesn't work. So for me, I have to be very aligned with my entire structure, with my entire conscious, subconscious, like all of me needs to be in one line, in alignment for something to be done. Otherwise, maybe you have conflicting desires, maybe you have conflicting needs, maybe one part of you wants it, the other part of you doesn't, and because of this not integrity, not alignment, things may simply not be working. So maybe that's another thing to consider. Maybe it's just you're trying to control something that's not working, not because it's not meant to be working, but because you're out of alignment with what you say you want versus what you actually want. Because what you say you want sometimes is not the thing that you actually want, because what you actually want might be prevented to you again by your own definitions and what you think you deserve, what you think you should be or should not be doing, and all of those things. So I hope that you can really find it within yourself to be honest with yourself and to just be in the moment. Take the action from the alignment of the present moment, not from the desire to attain a certain state or a certain destination, because again, you don't actually know what it's like to get there. Okay, this apparatus right here is very funny, but all you can control, all you can experience, all you can do is the present moment. And another thing is you can generate those feelings inside of yourself, which I feel like could be a whole another video on how you can generate all these emotions consciously in yourself that you think you want from other things. And it's just so funny. Like I feel there's so much right now that I want to express that I simply cannot express, the degree to which the things we want to control, we're literally like kids. Like I think of ego like a kid. Your ego is a kid, and the kid wants candy, but the kid is not supposed to be eating candy the whole entire time. If you give the kid candy, which the kid thinks it wants and it tries to get, right? The kids, like, they reach into all the funny places to get the candy, but the kid does not need candy. It needs healthy food. You can have candy once in a while, but the adult knows that. The kid does not know that. The ego is like the kid. The ego is like, oh, I want this thing, I want this candy up on the shelf, and it tries to control it. Is it what's best for it? Not always. So I hope that this video was helpful for you. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. If there is any other topics that you guys would like help with, because at this point I'm just going with what I feel called to share next. And one of you asked, like, what is this channel about? It's literally self-development mixed with me painting and talking. And I try to make it more chill, but as an Aries, I get fired up. Okay, it happens. It happens. So it's self-development, and it's whatever I feel called to share that can be helpful for you in life, relationships, mindset, emotions, all those things. So if there's any topics you guys would like, comment section is always available for those. That said, sending you lots of love. I hope this video was helpful for you, and I'll see you in the next one.